Hi, everybody. This is Katrina, Sow and Tare. I realized that I forgot to introduce myself last last week. So, how you guys doing? I see Gidro's Urban Homestead and Jesse's on. I hope you guys are doing well. Might take a little bit for people to come on here. So, Gidros, were you able to look again at that elderberry after I identified it and see kind of what stage it's in? Hi, Esso. Hi, Steve. You guys are fun. So Esso Swanson says, I'm here. I had to get my like in before Jesse did. I don't know if you beat him. So today my voice is a little bit off. I have had a little bit of a cold last week into this week, but I'm all good. Got my water, got my tea. So yeah. Well, I think we're just having some people come on, and this is kind of open forum right now. I do have a topic that I was going to talk about, but I was hoping to wait until we're in it a little while. Jesse says he has the first like a couple of hours ago. Jesse, you've been waiting a while. I appreciate it, guys. So Gidros, so those who don't know, Gidros has an elderberry they're asking about identifying, and they say, is this a he? This is Kirsten. So it has berries that aren't ripe and has flower clusters. I'm thinking some more berries will form. Now I'll just have to beat the wild birds them. Yes. Well, yeah. So what I do is when elderberries are really good for lots of things, including what I have going on right now. An elderberry is something that is native to North America, and so many of the United States have elderberry. It's actually quite widespread. There are different kinds throughout the United States. And Christina, good. And so it is used in a lot of health stuff. So Sambucus is I think they changed it. I don't know. They always change plant names. But if you see like cough drops with Sambucus on it, that is or was the genus name for elderberry. And so that has a lot of good properties in it. You can make a syrup for yourself. You can make juice. You can make pie. I made elderberry pie. It's super yummy. You can make a whole bunch of stuff with elderberries that is both good for you and tasty. And it is a little bit, and bitter is not the right word, but it has a little bit of maybe tanniny taste to it. And so some people say it's best cooked. I've eaten them raw and I'm just fine. It's a teeny tiny berry. That tart, not really tart. Yeah. Hi, James. Yeah, it's not really tart yet. I don't know. If anybody else has had it, maybe tart and something. I think you're right with the tart, but it's tart and like maybe a little, not quite astringent, but kind of astringent. But every tree tastes different. So that's something that I learned around here is when I was collecting berries, every tree tastes different. So if you haven't tried it and you do have a positive identification that this is an elderberry, and you can identify that by the berries, the leaves, the flowers, and then the bark is rather specific. So that is something to keep in mind is if you don't like one, move to another, because sometimes there's a whole bunch of them that are just not great. And in my experience, that is true year to year. So I believe it is about the tree and the tree's location. So a lot of things that have to do with how your fruit turn out in general, and we're talking about wild trees. You can definitely bring these into your yard and have them in your garden space. Puckery. Maybe James. Yeah. We have a lot of different descriptive words for elderberries. Yeah. So it's not going to be like the wine. But anyway, so it is something that the taste and flavor of the fruit, of any fruit that you grow, are going to depend on many different things. For the native trees that we're talking about right now, like elderberry, genetics, I believe, is going to be part of it. And then where it is. So what soil is it in? Mostly soil, I guess. What soil is it in? How much water is it getting? And then the seasonal fluctuation will actually change the flavor of fruits, like my citrus. And that is things like how much rain does it get, and how much heat is the heat in the right time? Is it, is that evened out? So that's something to think about. But for the flavor, I definitely year to year have found that if I don't like one year, I probably won't like it the next year. So if you find a good tree, you're good to do that. But why I'm saying that is I advise you, before you pick a whole bunch, taste it to make sure that it's okay and it's not a yucky one. All right, I'm behind here. Yes, so Essa Swanson says only homemade wine. Drink it, don't make it. Yeah, I don't have alcohol. Gidros says, I stayed up too late to read excessive amounts of info on it. I'm feeling pretty well positive with identification at this point, so we're going to see what we can do. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, this is, hi, Verna. This is definitely, that's elderberry. You have elderberry. It's just you have to wait for, so I'm going to jump into some plant talk here. If you know what elderberry looks like, that's good. If not, you might look it up. But the flowers are on an umbel. So it's like one stalk, and then there's a bunch of them. And if you think of an umbrella, umbrella, it's the same kind of shape. It's kind of a domed thing on multiple kind of mini stems. And so that is where the flowers are. And then those flowers become the berries. And then the berries have to ripen after that point. So the berries are ripening. As berries ripen, that umbel turns upside down. So if you have berries like this, don't eat them. They're not going to be good for you. They could potentially make you sick. I've heard that. I've never tried it. I wouldn't advise it. Just wait for them to hang down. They'll get waxy looking. And then if you just like go like this at the bottom, they'll come off in your hand. So yeah. So you have some time. Ours were ripe, I think, about a month ago where I live. And I didn't actually collect any because I was so busy. And I don't have any here. I just collect out in nature. But the best way to collect it, I have found, is to just use scissors and snip off the whole umbel of berries into a bowl or a bag. And then the next day, you can just hold it upside down, take a fork and fork through it, and the berries will fall down. So that's my method. I don't know what other people do. So yeah. James says we had elderberries growing along our garage for years. Awesome. Were they good ones, James? So that's why you got the tart and the all the other flavors from puckery. You kind of know what trouble I'm having with describing the flavor. Everybody's saying hi to Verna. Verna, how'd your cheese turn out? Verna put some cheese in her food dehydrator. Verna says, got more vines and 2 terribly small taters out of my sweet potatoes. 2? Did you harvest all of them? I haven't harvested mine yet. Yeah, the efficiency with the fork, I thought of that because I had harvested like 3 trees worth, and I had I had bowls this big and bags this big and boxes, and I just didn't get to it. And so it sat for a day, and then the next day I was like, well, I'm tired of picking this with my hands, and I just used the fork. And what happens is the stems shrivel enough that it's easier for them to detach, and that's just easy. Verna says cheese turned out great, lots of extra cheese or extra grease. Yes, harvested all the potatoes. There's always another year, Verna. At least you got your greens out of it for the animals. Yeah. All right, so we have elderberries that are ripening in right now. I know that, or for me, it was actually, I think some of them are still ripening. I think so. This year, it looked like it was, and again, I haven't harvested any this year, but this year it looks like the harvest was extended because I did see some with flowers on them not too long ago. It had a couple different batches going, I guess, and that's usually not quite so spread out. Yeah. So, what else have we got growing right now? So right now, at least natively, we have the acorns are dropping and the walnuts are dropping. So what do you guys have in your area that's ripe right now? I'm just wondering, like harvesting from the land, not from your garden wise. Verta says the pigs ate them quickly, and so did the quail. We're talking about the sweet potato vines. Hickory. I like hickory nuts. I used to live in the Midwest, and we had hickory nuts, and those were very good. Yeah. Um, those are much more easy to process than acorns. I've done acorns twice, I think. So acorns have the tannins in them, and I know in the Midwest they have red and white oaks. I'm sure there's others. There's like hundreds of different kinds of oaks, and those have less tannins than the ones here. So we have like Coast Live Oak has the most here as far as the ones that I have worked with, and then Blue Oak and Valley Oak. Those are the 3 that I have harvested from. And yeah, so I've harvested them for eating. But chestnuts, that's cool. Chestnuts are very spiky on the outside. Yes, so I did this twice. I harvested them for eating as flour. So they have tannins in them, and you have to leach the tannins out, and that can be done a couple of different ways. One way is to set it in a basket and put it in the river for a long time, and let the cold water do its thing. It takes a while. I did not do that. That's likely what a lot of the native peoples did. I will answer your question. Hi, Mom. About California buckeye after this story. So the acorns need to be leached first because they do have those tannins in them. You're not going to die if you eat a raw acorn. You're going to have an upset tummy probably. And different kinds of oak trees have different amounts of tannins. So all that means is it just needs to be flushed from the system. So a good way to do that is to grind it up. So I used food processor. The people who were here before electricity just ground them up, right? On the rocks. And there are those, you can see those historical places around here where people get together and do that. But you grind them up and then you put water through them, and you can do that cold water or you can do it hot water. Hot water is faster. It's a process. You guys could probably look up somebody else's. I haven't done a video on it. Maybe I will eventually, but you guys can look up somebody else's process for that. Yeah, so my mom is asking, can you eat California buckeye? And the answer is yes, but I wouldn't. So California buckeye is poisonous. It has the same process as you would do for acorns, you would do for buckeye, but it actually is dangerous. So I would not do that. The natives here used to mash up the buckeye. So California buckeye is it's a native plant to California. I don't know how wide beyond California it might go. It might go into Mexico. But they're about that big as the nut. The seeds are about that big, and they are summer deciduous, so they drop their leaves in the summer and then have the leaves through winter. And that big nut lands on the ground, and if it's a moist time period, they just start growing right into the ground, and you'll have all these little babies in the forest. Horse chestnut is the other unofficial name for them. So yeah, Verna, I think the buckeyes are the same story. I don't know what species the Ohio buckeyes are, but I believe it's the same story. So the native people would crush that up, and if you put that in the streams in the water, then it deprives the fish of oxygen, and someone might have to check on how it actually works. That might not be how it works. Anyway, in any case, it makes the fish come to the top of the water and is easy to collect. Yeah, I thought they were the same. And yeah, Verna just looked, and Ohio buckeyes and California buckeyes is the same basic thing. But yeah, so it can be made to be eaten, but it's not worth the risk. So don't do it. But it was used as a tool for fishing. So that's an interesting thing that somebody who knows more about that than me can teach you about. But hey, 10 people and 10 likes. I like it, guys. Thank you. Verna says we usually use them to make rings. Are you talking about rings like a finger ring? I don't know that. Do they carve them? I wonder how well they would carve. It must be pretty. I don't know. I've not heard of that. That's pretty cool. People carve all sorts of things, so it's pretty neat. Yeah. Well, there you go. Somebody who's around the buckeyes, start carving it. Okay, so we said chestnuts. Yeah, American chestnuts. So American chestnuts are big trees, and they have the spiky balls like that big, and it's very spiky. So once you get that off, then you can get to the nut. It's pretty easy. You would use a drill for the chestnut to make a ring. You could do that. I'm sure you could make all sorts of stuff out of all this. I know where I grew up, the bird's eye juniper is something that is used a lot for like fancy stuff, because bird's eye means it has little tiny knots in it, and so that it looks neat. That's all it is. It looks neat. So yeah. All right. What else is popping there? I guess May pops happen during May, probably, right? This just came to my mind. Trying to think. A lot of you guys are out in the Midwestern-y area. Does anybody collect wild ginger? It doesn't look like store-bought ginger. If you're in the Midwest, look up wild ginger as a wild edible, because that's pretty cool. Hi. Oh, Manuel just came in. Apparently the pineapple guavas are ripe.
There's a lot more there.
Yeah? This is our first harvest. Thank you.
Yep.
Cool. Well, anybody have any questions, or should I keep talking about wild edibles and trees and stuff? All right, let's talk about pineapple guavas, because I have one here. Thanks for bringing me props. Snowberries. You said that they're edible, and I know that there's a book that said that. I don't think they're worth it. Yeah. Same thing with Toyon. Toyon, I think is another thing that's just California. But yeah, very starchy snowberries. But Toyon is I think it's also called Christmas berry. But it's like a red berry, and the cedar waxwings, it's a bird, like it a lot. And it's in one of my wild edibles books, and it just isn't good. Like, it's not worth it. It's something like if you're starving, then you can eat it, but it's not something to go after at all. So, yeah. and so I don't think they're ripe right now anyway, the snowberries. But yeah, so pineapple guavas. You guys can ask questions. I'm just going off on a tangent until somebody asks a question. random facts with Katrina. Okay, so pineapple guava looks like this, and it is not a pineapple, obviously. It is not a guava. This is the end that attaches on the tree, and that is where the flower used to be. And they grow. I looked it up at one point. I don't remember. Yeah, Verna, I would look up for your area for snowberry, because a lot of times, as you know, common names are different, or different plants can have the same common name. So like something that's called something here in California and something where you are in Ohio, they might have the same common name and not be the same plant. So I would look that up. If it is the same one as the California one, I wouldn't bother. And yeah. So I did do a video on these last year. And again, this is their first harvest. It's actually early. Usually it's not until like late November or December, but it's early. The trees are loaded though. So I did do a video. It has the information about like zones that it goes up to and all that. But this, I'm in 9B, so I'm going to guess it might go down to 8 or 7 zone. We're talking about USDA plant zones. And it is an evergreen tree that is drought tolerant. So that is something to be watchful for if you're in that area. You don't have to water it at all. It does have better fruit if you water it, but you don't have to water it even to get fruit. In fact, I just started watering mine a couple years ago, maybe 3 years ago, and they've been in the ground for a very long time. Okay, Gidros says, we have a ton of mulberry that grows around here. I read up on it, and it seems you can grow it from a cutting. Yes. Any thoughts on that, or have you tried it? Yes, I have mulberry. Okay. In California, Arizona, maybe Texas. I don't know if Texas has it or not. But there is something called the California Rare Fruit Growers. And that is a group that is California Rare Fruit. And we have chapters throughout California. I'm a part of that. And we have chapters in Arizona, I know for sure. I don't know why Texas is in my head, but it might be in Texas too. But those are good resources as well online. But within those groups, every year, there is what is called a scion exchange. So SCION. SCI. Hey, I can type to you guys too. You can spell things. So a scion is not a car. Is it spelled that way? Is the car spelled that way? A scion is a stick. It's a stick off of a tree. And what that stick is two things. It could be something you can grow just by putting in the ground and growing. And you can do that by either putting it in the ground or just putting it in the ground, that's it, or putting it in the ground and cutting slits into the through the bark so that it can grow roots. you can also use rooting hormones. So that is the way that I would do mulberry. I'll get back to it after I tell you the second way of doing scion. Scions are used for grafting. So if you like this tree over here, and only if you're fast in the birds, yes. So purple mulberry is great. My taste. Yeah. So there's a lot of different types of mulberry. Pakistan mulberry is a favorite, and they're like this big. They like get super long. There's a white mulberry. There are so many mulberries. So basically, the point I'm getting to is if you want this type of mulberry or this type of whatever, you can cut it and stick it in the ground and it will grow. And it does have to stay moist to some extent so that the roots can work. But especially if you put little slits, if you cut little slits in the buried part of the stem, that will give more places for that cutting to root. That makes sense? Instead of just on the cut below. And then the other way a scion is used is as grafting. So if you want this tree over here and you like, let's say you have a really sucky apple tree and you just don't like it. You're like, I have a sucky apple tree. It tastes really horrible, but it's super healthy. Don't take that apple tree out. What you can do is you can go get a stick from a friend, go get a stick from online, go get a stick from someone, and you can actually put that on your tree and then you'll have a new apple. And I'm just going to do a demonstration. It's not time to graft right now, but I was going to do a demonstration after the scion exchange happens for us. For us, it's usually end of January, early February when that exchange happens. And then grafting happens like end of February, early March for this climate. So yes, you can grow. Now you have to have an apple with an apple, cherries are with cherries, apricots, plums, peaches. Those all can go on the same tree. There are certain things that can go with certain things, but that is a fantastic way to get more varieties. You can have multiple varieties on the same tree and go from there. So, yeah, definitely do mulberries from cuttings. I have a couple I think 2 or 3 in the backyard, but my problem from the Scionic exchange, but I labeled it, but the label came off. So I don't know what kind it is. And they're this big. Jesse says, here in Iowa, it's impossible to get rid of mulberry trees. The birds spread the seeds everywhere. And when you cut a tree down, new one pops up from the roots. Yes, it's very vigorous and it has lots of seeds. But what you could do if you like that tree, or if you could cut into where they sprout up. You're talking about the sprouting up from the roots. So when they sprout up, you could actually dig down and chop that off and then graft another one onto it, like a different variety onto it, and just plant it if you wanted a faster growth. So that would be a reason to graft a scion of a mulberry. I'm dropping fruit here. Instead of just planting it is if it doesn't have to grow roots, it will come to fruit faster. So if it has to grow roots first, it's going to take a while to grow those roots, and then it can focus on the above ground stuff. But if you put it on something that already has roots, you can actually use that. So Jesse, you might want to start thinking about selling some of those. That would be a good thing. I mean, I don't know if you would have to sell, outside of your area because everybody has them, but you could start offering, different types. If you get some motherwood and start grafting, that would be a really cool side business for you. And I think that would be really good for you. Yeah, if you have free trees growing, go for it. Gidro says you usually make jam with it. Yeah. Jam or jelly? Because jelly would have a lot less seeds. You might try making jelly. Feed the seeds to your birds. Pears with the apples. I don't know if that works. I think it works. You'll have to look it up. Verna says, you know when mulberries are ripe when you see purple bird droppings. Yes. Yes. Purple bird droppings are definitely a sign. We don't really have fruited mulberries here unless people are planting them. I know one time it was so sad. I was on a job site that there was a master gardener and they had all sorts of stuff and those trees were coming out. It was so sad. But he had a mulberry tree that was probably that big around and about 5 feet tall because I believe mulberries fruit on new wood, I believe. But he had shaped it so that it came down like a waterfall on all sides, and it had lots of yummy fruit. Anyway, we typically don't have in my area fruited mulberries, and I don't know why that is. I had 2 fruitless mulberries in my yard when I bought my house, but fruited mulberries, fruitless mulberries. I don't even understand it. No, I had 1, not 2. I had 2 fruitless pomegranates and 1 fruitless mulberry, which is ridiculous. Like, why would you have this tree and not have fruit? Yeah. Oh, Verna, you say if it does, and you'll have your pears harvest before the apples are ready, or you could have early apples, because early apples, my apples were ready in June and July, off my Anna apple, and as you guys saw, if you saw the video today, my Anna apple is blooming again, so she's confused, and it's okay. If she wants to give me more apples, she can. It's happened a couple times before where the apple tree just had a second harvest, which was pretty cool. There's 1 apple on there that's already that big. Weird weather. Yeah. So Jesse, do you think you're gonna get into the mulberry business? I think you can. That'd be total awesome side job. You wouldn't have to do much. You'd have 1 day of digging. That's it. All right, so I'm going to talk about this. So these I have used. I've used them just for plain eating, and I've also made jam out of them. A jelly out of them, which excludes the seeds, and it's super good. So this has a lot of pectin. If you do have this kind of tree, and you make jam, don't use a whole lot of pectin, because I don't even know that needs any, because this has this pectin in it. So yeah. And I don't have a knife. This is usually how I open them. It tastes good. Make sure I'm not going to drip on the keyboard. So you guys see that? That's what the inside looks like. It has different compartments and has the seeds. And then you just scoop that out, or you just slurp it. And it's good. But I won't eat all of that in front of you. I wanted to share that with you. All right. Does anybody have any questions? No? Okay. I did want to talk about, I know this hurricane went through, and I know a lot of people are affected, and I did want to talk briefly about, it kind of looks like a passion fruit, kind of. Let me get one, and then I'll talk about this thing. I got a passion fruit. Maybe I don't need to. I don't need to. Okay. We have 2 passion fruits that are ready to cut open in the kitchen. So, yeah, kind of like a passion fruit, but it's not like a bunch of little packets of fruit. There's the fruit, and then there's dark specks are the seeds. Yeah. Okay, so I wanted to talk about emergency preparedness stuff. So where you live, you have chosen your options for bad weather. You know, you chose your options for earthquakes, for fire, for whatever. And I just want to make sure that I touch on that and make sure that everybody, if you haven't thought about a plan, that you make one, that you have some water stored, that you have your emergency procedures in place. I don't need to tell you all about it unless you guys want to discuss that, then that's fine. I kind of feel like it's beaten to death a lot, but I do want to make sure that you guys are prepared for your type of disaster. So where I live, that is earthquake and fire. Midwest is, you know, the tornadoes and the new derecho storms. I don't know if they're new or not, but it seems like there's been quite a few. So you guys need, you know, to think about that. So just want to bring that up. Jesse says, we don't have a mulberry tree in the yard, but have probably 15 or more seedlings of various sizes around the yard. Then again, I do live on Mulberry Street. Well, they definitely wouldn't sell around here. Yeah, Mulberry Street. Well, there, you move there. You live there. But they could sell if you got a hold of different types of mulberries, because there are some really, really good types. I know there's native variety where you are, and that's very good, but there are some extremely good types. Like, again, the Pakistani mulberry is like that big, and it's good. Yeah, you wouldn't know where to list them to sell elsewhere. Yeah, then you have to deal with like state taxes and stuff like that. Okay, well, keep in your back of your mind for an idea later. Verna says she has a tote filled for Mylar bags with freeze-dried food. Yes. And so Verna, that I would imagine that at the rate that you're freeze drying, it's gonna take, you're going to have to like have a serious storage area. Have you figured that out? Or are you dealing with that as you go? All right, so we talked about mulberries and potential potential businesses there. You could also, you know what you could do with mulberries if you have too many of them? You could dehydrate them and actually sell them that way, or feed them to your birds. Birds love them. I mean, they like blackberries. I could imagine they would like mulberries. But yeah, you could totally dehydrate them and sell them. I know that they sell white mulberries for quite a lot, you know, dehydrated in a bag like that big. Roberta says, I deal with it as I go, since I have a lot of things to get rid of anyway. S.O. Swanson says, we have an odd white mulberry down in the woods, just can't get to it before the birds do. Yeah. Oh, silkworms. Yes, good point. So silkworms, the silk industry feeds their worms mulberry leaves because that's what they eat. So yeah, if you're trying to collect wild silkworms for your own little silk factory, it might take you a while. But that is what they do eat. So yeah, maybe start collecting leaves for a silk person if you can figure out who that is. I had forgotten that, Verna. Thanks for reminding me. Only white mulberries give the silkworm threads strong. Oh. I didn't know anything except that they eat mulberry leaves. So that's good information. And Steve reminded me, S.O. Swanson reminded me just by popping up there that I didn't finish my story about the acorns. Anyway, I made acorn flour is what the story was. And you have to leach it and dry it and leach it and dry it, leach it and dry it. And it's a long process. But at the end of the road, I collected about like this much acorns, and it made almost 3/4 cup of a flour. So while I can see if that was your whole entire job, that would be worth it because it's good nutrition and you're eating it. But if it's not your job and you're doing it for a side thing, I've done it twice. I might do it again, but it's not going to feed you unless you get an enormous amount of acorns. So that is, yes, a lot of work for nothing. I mean, it was very good. It was flavorful. It was nutty. It was really good. I made pancakes. I mean, what else do you do with that much flour? Yeah, that's a lot of work for nothing. Yeah. But I could say I did it and I know how to do it. And I think if you have the time and if you have, especially like the white oaks and the red oaks out in the Midwest, those are bigger acorns. The valley oaks and blue oaks here are bigger too, but they're bigger. And that is, maybe more worth it if you could dry it and, I don't know, process a big batch of it or something. I don't know. If you had the right tools, I think it would be worth it. Verna says, I heard you can roast the acorn nuts. Yeah, you can roast them. I just don't know how much tannins that would remove. I know the tannins are removed naturally. So everybody knows squirrels love acorns, right? Well, everybody who has acorns in their area knows that squirrels love acorns. And they eat them just fine. But what they'll do is they'll actually bury more than what they dig up, right? There's been studies that show that they definitely know where they're going. They definitely know where they bury them. And if you watch them, they'll fake bury it. Anybody seen that? Where they fake bury their acorn, and then if you're watching them, obviously, what they're doing is they're burying it, storing it for later. Verna said it, seen it. They're storing it for later. But what happens in that process, because it's in the ground actually has moisture and it does start to leach that nut. So a nut that has been stored in the ground would be kind of more edible on the leaching factor. I don't know about, what's in the dirt and who else has been eating it. But at least on the leaching factor, it will have already been leached to some extent. And those make it more digestible for those squirrels and for whoever else digs it up. I'm sure pigs and stuff dig it up too. I keep coming back to the white oak and the red oak because I don't remember which one has more tannins than the other, but one has more tannins than the other. And I know that I learned that when in school about the squirrels burying them and different concentrations of the tannins and all of that. So that's fun. Yeah. Let's see. Anything else wild happening right now? We are starting to have some seedlings come up for winter. And they, like the borage just came up. You guys saw that in the video. The California poppies also came up. They're coming up. They're a little tiny right now. And so I expect that, and that was just from that one rain that we got. I think it was 2 days of rain. 2 days? I think so. And that was just from that little bit of moisture that they got. And the rest of it is for, it's coming. As soon as I think as soon as it rains next, those seeds that didn't pop up after that first time, they're going to be popping up. So I think before the first rain, I'm going to be throwing out some flax seeds into the front yard again. I think that's a good use. Gudros says, we planted a bunch of seeds this past weekend. I said I wasn't going to, and then I did. Why did you say you're not going to? I have not planted my fall garden yet. I believe I'm doing that this weekend. It's going to be a very, we don't have like real winter. So I'm not concerned about, losing plants. If it's going to get colder, what you do is you take a milk jug, you cut the bottom off, and you put that over the plant. So things like broccoli, I want to plant this year. I did not do that in spring because got too hot too quick. And again, it's still pretty warm. So I didn't want to plant it when you're supposed to plant it time wise. So I will be doing broccoli, and then things like beets. I like the greens of the beets are more tasty, but beets, greens, and chard. I definitely want to grow more chard. You guys saw in the video today that there is one chard that is living, but I want to do more so I can actually eat, more of it, because I do enjoy that. Verna planted some garlic. Very cool. Too early here for us to do that. Gidra says, I wanted a bit of a garden break, but we're in 9B also, and I can't help myself. Yeah. Yeah. I understand that. Yeah, so you're in 9B. So anything I talk about, you can grow is pretty much what that is, because we're in the same zone. Vernon's in 6B. Yeah, you're where winter exists. Yeah, 9B radishes. Once it cools off a little bit more, because those will bolt. What are some other winter things I should grow? I'm going to do an example of the. I think I said this earlier in one of the videos. I'm going to do an example of getting a bag of planting mix, and then just cutting off the top and putting lettuces in it. And I'm going to be doing that. So I can have that indoors or in the screen and porch, just as an example of what you can do. Gidro says, yes, haven't grown fava beans before, but I'm going to try them this year. Yeah. Verna says lettuce and bok choy. Bok choy I have had volunteer in my yard after I let it go to seed, but it only did it once and then it didn't repeat. So I would have to plant those. That is tasty though to grow. Fava beans are good. I used to do that every year and I haven't done it for the past 2 years. Maybe I'll do that. If it is a good year of rain, then we can plant those right into the bark chips, and that will grow fine in that. If it's not a good rain year, then they don't work. And you have to plant them in the beds. So, yeah, fava beans are otherwise known as broad beans, and they're actually not related to the other beans that we know about, like the pinto beans and black beans and green beans and all that. So are you going to, Gidros, are you going to plant them this year for fertility or for the fruit, or both? Those that don't know, fava beans are a legume, and they are nitrogen fixers. So they will take the nitrogen out of the air and go into the plant. And then in the roots, if you dig up the roots, you'll see this. It is pretty wild when you see this. But the roots will have these little nodules like that big, that are white nodules, and that is the nitrogen. So what happens is when it gets it from the air, it does its photosynthesis, brings the nitrogen in from the air, brings it into the plant, brings it into the root, stores it there. And then while it's in storage, there's 2 things you can do. One, you can let the plant use it, and that means making beans. And 2, you can chop off the plant. And when you chop off a plant above ground, an equal amount of below ground dies. And when those roots die, they release nitrogen into the soil. So it's like a little nitrogen packet just is planted in there. So what people generally recommend, if you're growing fava beans for a crop, just grow them for a crop, and you're going to have some nitrogen left in those nodes when you do end up, cutting them down. But if you want to get the best nitrogen, you want to let them flower halfway. And I'd never know what halfway means. It's really hard to see it when, especially it's your first time growing it. But you want to let half the flowers bloom and then cut it. And apparently that is the best time with the maximum amount of nitrogen in the roots. Gidra says, and as an experiment mostly, but I'm an avid seed saver, so I'd probably grow them for the beans. Yeah. Well, good luck. Good luck. I might be doing that this year. Hopefully we get rain. Jesse says, we're in zone 5 here. I'm planning to get a garden area made next year. We have groundhogs in the yard. Oh, so I need to make raised beds to help protect them somewhat. So groundhogs are visual creatures. If they can't see it, they're not likely to get it. So I don't know what your yard looks like or if that's helpful information to you. But I also know that they also climb things. You could do, I don't know how well they climb. You could do like a raised garden bed with those corrugated metal pieces. That would probably work. You can always put like logs and stuff in the bottom so you don't have to, buy that much dirt. Yeah, let us know what you're thinking on how to do those, because that groundhog might be a tricky pest. S.O. Swanson says, I think I'm 7B. Just have to go find a place to grow. Yeah. Well, Verna's growing. So if Verna's growing in her apartment, you can grow too. No excuses. Verna says, I can only grow in planters or bags, but you're growing. And that's the thing. You can grow. Yeah. Verna, where you're growing, would you be able to support a green stalk? I know people do them on like porches and trellises or terraces and stuff like that, but I don't know of anybody that does it inside. No. Okay. Because that would be a really great thing to do. And yeah, S.O. Swanson, if you could do that would get you going. That's 30 plants, I think. 30 plants in a 5-tier. Yeah. Jesse Mills. That's why I haven't got it done yet. Then the money and the materials. Yeah. I live in a shed. Oh, you need windows, need lights. Oh, yours is inside. It's on 2x2 area outside. 2x2. Yeah. Sorry. So Jesse, I suggest you drive around and look for people taking down old barns and get some material for that. Look on Craigslist or make a post. I don't know. Is Craigslist a popular thing out there? Craigslist or Nextdoor or any of those types of websites. Because I'm sure you can get, for your garden bed, you don't need it used. I mean, you don't need it new. It can be used. The only thing to watch out for is I would not use the treated wood. And I don't recall when they changed what they do to it. It used to be arsenic. They used to treat it with arsenic, and now they don't. The treated wood now is pretty okay to use around your garden, but the older stuff is not. So I would not use that. Look for pallets. Exactly. Yeah, so a pallet is a great thing to use. The bottom of my chicken coop is a pallet. It's a pallet that had a piece of plywood on it. That's what it is. And it does fine. Yeah, find buildings that need to be torn down or nearly falling down. Excuse me. You can also contact a demolition place. So there are places that do demolition for a living. So if there's a house that needs to be torn down because something else is being put up, they'll often. So how they make their money is they get paid for it, but then they also do all the recyclables and all the resale and stuff like that. But sometimes there's stuff like sometimes they just totally just crush a house or crush a building with the excavator's claw, and they'll just pull it in. And if you're on their list or of saying, hey, this is what I'm looking for, you might be able to go in and pull it out yourself, pull out pieces of lumber yourself. And I'm guessing that there's going to be less laws around that where you are than where I am. So that's what I would do. Because they don't recycle everything, they don't reuse everything. So that's something to look for. Hi, Aaron. Aaron says, if you have, sorry, I'm coughing, you guys. If you have a local sawmill, you can use the rounded ends of the trees to make beds. Absolutely. Technically waste for them. Yeah, I actually bought for my beds in the front, which I would not design that the same as I did again, but it's rough cut. You don't need smooth cut. You don't need, everything to be sanded. If you want it sanded, buy some sandpaper and sand it yourself. It's cheaper. But yeah. So cedar or redwood would be ideal. I'm going to guess you don't have redwood there. But cedar would be ideal, but you don't need it. I mean, if you have pallets and you can put it together and it's pallets, guess what? There's always pallets available. So you can just replace them, every year or two as you need to, or until you get the materials that you really want. Jesse says, used metal roofing sells high here. Okay. Farm consignment auctions, 30 plus a sheet. Yeah, that's unfortunate. But doesn't have to be metal roofing. Could be wood. But I think groundhogs would probably climb wood. That's why I was thinking of the roofing. It's worth putting the question out there. It's worth putting out and saying, hey, I'm looking for this. I have this much to spend. Or, hey, I'm looking for this, willing to trade labor, or whatever, and there may be somebody who has a shed and maybe they're taking down a shed, and the shed has metal sides and metal roof, and you say, oh, I'll take that away from you, or I'll take that away for you. I'll take it down for you if I can keep it. And that might be a good deal. So it's worth keeping an eye out for. Aaron says we just gave away some sheet metal from redoing our roof. Yeah. Old vinyl siding. Mm-hmm. Yeah, start thinking outside the box. It's okay. It can be vinyl with an eye. Esso says, I pick up used sheets of new metal used on roof, get odds and ends that they'll toss. So, Steve, where are you getting those from? Because I think that's Jesse's issue, is he's having trouble finding a source. And I think Craigslist, Nextdoor, finding a demolition company might be good sources. But if you have an additional source, that'd be good. I mean, a lot of my stuff is just things I found on the side of the road. I mean, the wood for the aviary, the main aviary wood, I think the only wood I bought was the wide flashing for the door, and the rest of it was stuff I found on the side of the road. Yeah, Facebook Marketplace is another place. Yeah. So you kind of just have to be the picker, pick things as you see them, and when you have enough, do the project. Yeah, Jesse says we have several places that give away pallets. I pick up for a lot of different projects. I have some roofing that I use for pen roofing. Yeah. Used to drive your garbage truck. Oh, yeah. You need to be friends with your garbage truck people then. Steve says, keeping eyes on houses that I see going a new roof. Right. Also, one of the roofers that installs, they keep good stuff, but don't care about giving away other bits. Yeah. Oh, old bathtubs. That is a wonderful idea, Verna. I would punch some extra holes in it is the only thing that I would add to that. Yeah. So yeah, roofers would throw away stuff. So I understand that the barn like resale stuff would go, but there's other roofing materials that might be able to use. Yeah. Gudrose, I'm the picker around here. We have our stash for projects. Yes, we do too. That's what the side of the house is for. SO says, keep your eye on mobile home parks. They have to reskirt trailers. They use vinyl and metal every 4 to 5 years. Nice. Nice piles on trash day. That is interesting. So yeah, we're finding a lot of good sources here. Yeah, you have to keep your eyes out for these things because there's a lot of things that people don't know are valuable to other people and they just throw it away. And they could even throw it in the dump. Like they could actually pay to get rid of it as well. Unless you have, your message out there that you're looking for things. I mean, you may even be able to partner. Let's just go out on a limb and say, maybe there's an Eagle Scout in your area that wants to, or there's a Eagle Scout wannabe. How about that? That's not very nice to say. A person who is going to be an Eagle Scout, Boy Scouts, and maybe one of their projects you could help and say, hey, this is a need for some people. What are some things that they could do? Because I know that I know some Eagle Scouts that have done community gardens. I know some Eagle Scouts that have made parks and all of that. So there may be someone who is looking to help people garden somehow. It's a good potential. Jesse says it used to be pretty easy to get piles of free lumber around here, but now people figured out they can sell it. Yeah. Normally by the time I see a listing for free or cheap, it's gone. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's true. I think everywhere with all the lumber prices. Verna says you can also see if you can go dump picking. Yeah, that's a possibility. So Swanson, my poop trays and roof for my quail cage are use mobile home skirting. And that's something I would never have thought of. So thank you for doing that. Everybody who's talking, I know you have quail, but if anybody's listening, poop trays, they're not Steve's poop trays, they're his bird's poop trays. For quail. Now people want 500 or more for a garage or shed that's falling down. Oh, okay. So they not even if you do the labor to take it down. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Aaron says use 55-gallon drums cut in half. Container gardening is fun and easy. Yeah, so that's also a good idea. I don't know how well that would work with his pest. This is all about Jesse today. With his pest that is a groundhog. So that would be good because if you had it, you can either do it this way, and if that's tall enough, maybe they won't go in. But you could also do it cut lengthwise and have it so the edges go up. I don't know if that's good or not. Yeah. SO says keep an eye on big dumpsters around your town. You'll be surprised what you get from dumpster diving. Yeah. Jesse says landfill here crushes the trash. You don't want to go in there then. Oh, Verna, you're making fun of your cousin. I just thought I'd clarify because we haven't even really talked about quail yet tonight, and somebody's watching this or rewatching it. They might want to have some questions about that. Gary, hi Gary. This is NC first time chat. This is my second time chat. Welcome. And yeah, I am doing well. I'm getting over a cold and it is fine. I have my tea and my water here to help me along. And a little cough, sorry. Jesse says they want you to pay for it, then take it down yourself. There's a lot of Amish people here that do, okay, they do the old barns and buildings material. Yeah, that That makes sense. That makes sense. So James was on here earlier. I don't know if he's still on, but I'm hoping you're doing well in your new place. And if you're finding that you have a lot of projects to do and able to keep up with it. Sweet. Oh, you have proof. You have quail. Steve says, off topic. I have 100 quail eggs going into lockdown tomorrow. Yay. He left. Oh, sorry. What types of what colors do you have? S.O. Swanson, Steve. I plan on starting to collect eggs. I think midweek this week is when I'm going to start. Not quite sure if they're. I need to check and see if they're fertile. Maybe I should check that before I start collecting, since the light went on them. Oh my gosh, Jesse just ordered 200 eggs. What kind did you order? Is everybody getting jumbos now? The next ones that I'll be hatching are jumbos. I'm hoping to start collecting midweek this week, and I should check and see if they're fertile. Verna, I found out today I have to cull a lot of my birds as an exterminator will be here mid-month. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's rough. But hopefully you know who's going and who's staying, and they'll stay around in your freezer or freeze dryer in your tummy. Steve has mainly farrow and a bunch of weird ones. Weird ones? Okay. Awesome. Well, good luck. Mike Caveman Savage. Hello. Hatched some today. Awesome. I hope they did well. Hope you had a good hatch rate. Gary says, on my males, which is best, white trim feathers or brown around their face? Personal experience or personal opinion, I don't think it matters. To me, what they look at like matters less than their health and their like bone structure, right? So if you're going for jumbos, you want them to have strong legs and strong, big legs and big bones. And I have jumbos and I have standards in 2 different aviaries, and they basically just have tremendously different sized legs. And so that's something you want to watch out for is the size of the legs. Feathers, whichever one you like best. And I mean, honestly, if it's a good male, if he's good to his ladies and has a good attitude, those are the ones I would keep. So yeah, as far as colors go, yeah, it's up to you. Aaron says we started collecting eggs yesterday to incubate. I should have brooder space for them. Awesome. Quailcon birds will be out of the brooders. Yay. Verna says not all of them get to keep about 2 breeder sets. That's significantly cutting them. Okay. But you'll be able to regroup that or regrow them very quickly. So that's unfortunate. You have to get rid of that many, but yeah, such is life, right? Mike Caveman says we have lots of colors and 2 button quail. Only 2 button quail, a male and a female, I hope. Versus hi. Not that great, but the incubator ran way low and wouldn't go warmer. Oh wow. Okay, 92, 95. Was that a motor problem, like a thermostat problem? Yeah, that's what I would think. Jesse Mill says ordered 50 each pearl, autumn, amber, fab fee, and golds. Awesome. Switching from mixed colors to certain colors and all feather sexable. We'll order jumbos first of the year when they go back. Oh, that's right. He took them off. Yeah. I have golds and and they did great. I have them all mixed into things now. Yeah, you'll have fun with those. Oh, Vernon might be getting jumbo whites. Very cool. Very cool. Swanson says, I keep the chunky females and quiet chunky males. Yeah, the secret in getting chunkier females is to actually have chunky males. The males seem to be much smaller than the females. Every time I'm like, oh, I want to keep that one, I'm like, I turn around, I'm like, oh, you're a girl. I'm trying to keep the males. Hopefully more hatched. The buttons cost me a small fortune. The rest were our eggs. Okay. Yeah. I have not gotten into buttons, but I know people that have. Gary says, "Think that works for me." Beautiful birds. I really enjoy my quilt. Yeah. I'd say keep whatever you like. I mean, for the jumbos and stuff, I actually like the dark face. I think it looks really neat. I know a lot of people are trying to get rid of that. And it's like, well, I like it, so I'm keeping it. It's personal choice. Verna says, I have jumbo wilds and jumbo white wings. Yeah. I have jumbo wilds, but a couple of them have white wings or have like a white feather. So they have the white in it. Gidro says, Mike, once you get those button quills going, you'll be overrun. Yeah. Jesse needs to text Zach with Loretta's QuailCon jumbo hatch rate. How is Loretta doing? I hope that she's doing well. That was quite fun for her to be involved in all of the winning. Was it last year? Pretty cool. Swanson's says, I have one female in the male cage. I can't find her, but I get an egg a day. Maybe we'll rescue her this weekend. Well, you made me cough. I'm going to guess that she's the one with the bald back. Just a guess. Gary says, I have jumbo wild, Tibet, and tucks. Oh, Tibet tucks. Yeah. Cool. Very nice. Wow, guys, I was going to stop this at 7. Okay, let's go to 7:20 and then we'll call that good. K-Man says, so cute, chicks are half the size. Our plan is to hatch buttons and other quail together so the runts can be friends with the buttons. We just had one black turn 4 weeks, was a runt, but made it. Okay, that would be interesting. I'm wondering if the buttons might be too small, but that is something that you're going to be experimenting with. And if you can let us know how that works to have them in the same area, then that would be interesting for other people, I'm sure. Oh, Gary and pheasants. Pheasants are fun. Jesse's talking about Loretta. Loretta, she's doing good. Went to Pumpkin Fest Saturday and Scarecrow Walk at local Arboretum yesterday. Fun weekend. Awesome. We're going to be going to an apple tasting on Saturday. And there's going to be over 70 different type of apples. So, and again, that's with the California Rare Fruit Growers. If you are in California, I don't think anybody who's talking right now is, but if you're watching this later, if you're watching this in secrecy, look up California Rare Fruit Growers. And it's pretty awesome. You get to do all these tastings and information and all of that. Gidro says you can brood buttons and Coturnics together for the first week, but then you need to split them. And is that, Gidros, is that because of the size difference? I'm just assuming that it is because buttons are pretty tiny. Verna says Lucy's bugging me that she needs out. Have a blessed week, everyone. Have a wonderful evening, Verna. And Lucy wins on that one. Mike says our black runts are all black, but half the size. Usually they don't make it, but I ground food for 3 weeks. It helped. So just make sure that you're not grinding too fine, because if you're grinding it too fine, that can cause them to suffocate. So I know people do it and do it successfully, but I think just make sure it's not too fine, not like powder dust. Everybody's saying goodnight. So yeah, so it sounds interesting. I think I've not worked with button quail. Oh, Manuel's here. Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, the size. We would normally just move the buttons in the newest Caternet's hatch. Okay. Okay, so you're using them as experienced babies for your next hatch. And I could see that would work if you have hatchings back to back. Back to back. Mike says we only had a few all black quail. Usually they don't make it. Separating them would help. Okay. So you're being said hello. I was gonna stop at 7:20. You want to say hi to people?
Hi guys.
He's eating. Yeah. So the reason you're having them together is because they're already small. That might make sense. He wants to be part of this, apparently. No, you don't want to be part of it? Okay. Never mind. He said hi. Everybody's saying hi now. Yeah, I've only had Caternix in with Caternix, so that's all I've done. I've only done one batch at a time. And I have had runts, and they've both done okay and not okay. So the little ones are hard to make it sometimes, but if you can get them going and you can get them going well, then that's good. So let's know how that goes. Yeah. So anybody else have any other questions? I said we go till 7:20. We have 2 more minutes. Mike says, yeah, so we can separate them to size because they get trampled. Yeah, it makes more room. More room helps too. Okay. So yeah, it sounds like you're doing a size. You're keeping them within their own size. Is that what I'm understanding? And I think that that's the right thing to do. Yeah, if they're tinies. Wow, guys, we talked a lot of different things today. Gary says, hope you have a great night. 10:15 in North Carolina. Is that what it is? Is that what NC is? Hope to catch you again. Good night. Good night. Good night. We're doing this every Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. So you're going to have to translate that into your times if you're not Pacific time. Awesome. Mike says yes, exactly. So the right sizes. That's smart. That's good. So, all right, guys. Well, I think we are going to head out. Thank you so much for coming and chatting with me. And we ran the gambit from native edible plants and what's going on to yes, time translator. Yeah, Steve is our time translator. 8 p.m. Central. Okay. 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central. You can work your way from there. Yeah, so thank you for joining, and I hope you all have a wonderful week. And we're going to have that other rabbit video coming out tomorrow that we talked about last week for how to get the most meat off of your rabbit. Oh, we got a couple more. Okay. Mike says, great live. I was cleaning while you were chatting till quail time, and then he had to pipe in. New babies. Good night, everybody. See y'all. And Wednesday with Tango Farms for Jesse. And Steve says, thanks for taking time to teaching us. Yeah, anytime. Well, actually, this time. And on Newbie Quail Lovers. Have a wonderful night, you guys. Thanks for watching.